Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Retro Hardware. Now, many of you have been requesting more gameplay footage, so for today's episode, I'm going to spotlight one of my favorite video game companies, Treasure. For this episode, we're just going to spotlight the games that Treasure developed on their first system, the Sega Genesis/Mega Drive. Treasure was founded on June 19, 1992 by Masato Magawa and a bunch of former Konami employees. Konami is the company responsible for the Castlevania, Gradius, and Contra franchises. In 1993, Treasure released their first game on the Sega Genesis, Gunstar Heroes. Gunstar Heroes is a side-scrolling action game in the vein of Contra, in which you can play 1 or 2 players. One of the things I remember most about Gunstar Heroes was that there were a whole lot of cool tricks that the programmers for Gunstar Heroes pulled off. Now, the Sega Genesis doesn't really have the hardware capability to do scaling and rotation like the Super Nintendo, but for some reason, the programmers over at Treasure were able to work their magic and were able to utilize these effects with Gunstar Heroes. In what would become one of the Treasure's trademarks, Treasure would take the tried and true genre of the run-and-gun action shooter and would add their very own unique spin on the game. With Gunstar Heroes, you have the capability to mix and match your weapon choices for a grand total of 16 different combinations. I'm spending a lot of time on Gunstar Heroes because it's the game that arguably Treasure is the most famous for. The last thing I'll say about Gunstar Heroes is that I really appreciate the fact that, like good storytelling, the stakes get raised as you progress. The levels get harder, and the effects get even more impressive. And, spoiler alert, in one of the last levels, you get to fly around in a spaceship. If you want your fix of Gunstar Heroes, they released a port of it on the Japanese PlayStation 2 as part of the Sega Ages series, or it's also available on the Wii Virtual Console. Other titles that Treasure worked on for the Sega Genesis were McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure, no pun intended, Dynamite Headdy, Yu Yu Hakusho, Light Crusader, and Alien Soldier. Yu Yu Hakusho was a fighting game based on the manga, but instead of the one-on-one versus gameplay, if you had the Sega 4-player adapter, you could do a 2 versus 2 match or a 4-player free-for-all. Treasure's last game for the Sega Mega Drive was Alien Soldier. I remember seeing the pictures of this game in my favorite gaming magazine, Die Hard Game Fan, and couldn't wait for this game to come out. Unfortunately, for some reason, like Yu Yu Hakusho, we never got Alien Soldier over here in the States either. Because the Sega Mega Drive was a distant third place in Japan, the Japanese version of Alien Soldier for the Mega Drive is quite rare and quite expensive when it actually pops up on eBay. Europe was fortunate enough to get Alien Soldier, and that one commonly pops up on eBay. It's still pretty pricey though. Alien Soldier is like Gunstar Heroes on steroids. It's also a run-and-gun action game, but this time Treasure basically made the game a series of boss battles. Instead of mixing and matching different weapon types, you have 6 different weapon types available for you at the start of the level, and you select 4 of them to use during the level. What's great about Alien Soldier is that Treasure really made the game very customizable for the gamer. In addition to the weapons and style of weapon you can choose, Treasure also gave you the ability to adjust the way your energy status is displayed, and a slow motion option technique to make things easier. Ironically, the one option that isn't so deep on Alien Soldier is that there are only 2 difficulty levels, super easy or super hard. Well, that's all for the games that Treasure released for the Sega Genesis. I hope you guys like this slight change in format. If you guys did, we'll do another episode in which we look at Treasure's games that they developed for the other systems. Okay, happy collecting!